We did $10 million over the span of 3 years. I was the Excel spreadsheet guy. I really enjoy writing.
Yeah.
I'm a full geek, so I was never really hardworking. I wanted to prove people wrong. I like to be the one calling the shots. I need results fast, or I'm gonna give up. Oh jeez, no. How do you know about this one? I met the guy I was 11, my first time in a comic book store, and that's when I got hooked on a lot of different things, at the expense of my parents, I guess. He's like a second father at this point. He told me, well, listen, you stay another 5 years, I'll sell you the company. And I was in Hong Kong making good money. I'm like, sure, I'll bankroll this. That triggered everything else, Every company should be a software company, right? And then every company should be a product company. 2015 is the start of every company should be right timing. No one was selling that. And honestly, our startup, it was so easy to sell. Darn, I'm literally gonna make in 3 months more money than a year of my previous job. We were growing very fast, faster than actual startup with investment. People that would not talk to me before are now calling me. Look at you, look at that smug face. It changed in the second year when so there's a saying that said that every time you double the company in size of employees, you have too much business for us to handle, right? And so I was working way more than I've ever worked in my life. Yeah. Well, then it kind of exploded, which was a surprise to me, but that's my bad, as I didn't see that coming. And so the whole thing of never be far from the business, you're in.
It's another crossroad, right?
Yeah.
You have to decide between
the original plan.
Yeah, going left, continuing to make good money, focusing on what you know best.
Actually doing it is very scary.
But it was a plan.
Let's discuss this because I don't think I agree. I think retrospectively I should have done that for several reasons, and didn't go that way. I know that this is at some point I'm gonna get either not the right person for the job because we're gonna get.
So you made one of your biggest life decision based on cats.
Okay, you've done your research. I left a lot of money on the table if I had chosen my own interest. I had literal FU money on the table. Yeah. I don't need money. Okay, well, damn. that makes me question the whole thing now.
Welcome. Together, we're going to meet the most singular individuals, entrepreneurs, artists, athletes. No matter where you are in your journey, today's story will give you the opportunity to reflect on your questions and challenge your beliefs. I'm Loris. I love creating product, start businesses, but most of all, I love stories and connecting with the most extraordinary doers. In 2024, I'm going to put in a lot of efforts to level up what I'm offering you. If you love the show, the only thing I'm going to ever ask you is to subscribe and share to your friends. I cannot express how much this helped me bring you the most exceptional guests. Thanks so much. Enjoy the show. Ready to speak the Wall Street English?
Wall Street, indeed. I'm gonna talk with the British accent though.
Cool. Okay. Episode number 1.
Number 1.
Cool. I'm super excited to have you, Cyril. Because first, this is, as mentioned, the first episode. And I really wanted to do it with a friend. There's only a first.
So I am a friend.
You are. Until now.
Told you.
And we're going to see at the end of the session if you are.
I'm crying, actually.
And so why I wanted to have you, beside the fact that you are a friend, because I have other friends as well, is because...
Good for you.
Thanks. It's because this whole podcast is about doers, okay? And among all my friends, you have been one of those with the strangest path, and I'm going to explain it a bit. And in a second, I'm going to ask you to introduce yourself, so get ready. But just for the story, or at least my perspective on who you are and how you navigated through the past years, I've always see yourself being this tech geeky guy, super interested by a lot of subjects, with one end on sci-fi, another end on books, and a lot of different areas of interest, but always trying to find yourself. Right? Trying to identify who you are, what the job I should have, how do I fit into a company, how do I navigate this whole career stuff, right? And at some point, the peak of this, I need to find myself, was you traveled for a bit. You were trying to discover the world. You came back, you were working for yourself, and 2 years later, you sold your company for multiple millions, right? So I think that it's one of you are one of the best example of someone who went from a state of trying to find yourself to a place where you become a successful entrepreneur, right? And I think that this quick transformation is something that I found from a close distance, but that I found super interesting. And what I would like to cover with you today is a little bit what this initial journey looked like in terms of
introspection.
Yeah, in this type of professional insecurity, I will say that you had, until this realization that you were able to achieve great things, right? And so it's really what I would like to cover as the main direction today. Obviously, there's a lot of different things that I want to understand how you created your organization, and you have been acquired a year ago, so to also understand how all of that happened. But it's really this whole thing that I would like to see with you. Does it make sense?
Sure.
Excited?
Let's go.
Cool. Perfect. So to start, I would like you to introduce yourself with your own words, and in order for me and the audience to understand who is Cyril.
It's going to be fast. All right. Well, thank you, for inviting me. I'm absolutely thrilled to be the first one. So who am I? I was born in France. Let me start at the very beginning. Yeah. Born in France, stayed there, I was a very small child. We moved with my parents to a small remote island in the Indian Ocean when I was 6. It's called Rainian Island, beautiful island, but also very remote. Spent 12 years there, so great until I was 18. Then moved back to France for a business school. Couple of years, and then in that business school I had the opportunity to go study in Brazil as well. I started doing internships in France. After the business school, went to Hong Kong to start my career in finance, corporate finance. But in that bit, I actually specialized in entrepreneurship. That was my major in the business school.
In Hong Kong?
No, in France. Yeah. Because I always wanted to start a company. I knew that this is what I wanted to do at some point.
Why?
Because I like to be the one calling the shots.
Yeah.
I think. I mean, now I know, but at the time, that was what I thought. So entrepreneurship, and also I think it's kind of like I didn't want to do marketing, didn't want to do finance. In business school, got a bunch of majors. None of them were appealing to me. Entrepreneurship was a bit of everything. So anyway, started in Hong Kong, figured out pretty quickly that finance was boring to me. Because you know exactly corporate finance anyway. You know what you do on the first day of the month until the last day of the month.
What was moving to Hong Kong like a decision to see another part of the world, or it was just something that you had to do part of your studies?
No, it was the opportunity to. So I traveled a lot thanks to my parents, which really had no issue moving my life to another place because I already moved my life so many times.
Yeah.
So when I finished business school, essentially the company where I did an internship during the business school called me and saying, okay, we're offering you a job in Hong Kong. We're going to pay for everything. Like, sure, easy path. Even if I didn't want to do finance, it's kind of the easy way in that case. Like, okay, well, let me go to Hong Kong. Nice salary. They pay for the rent, everything.
How it was to live in Hong Kong?
It was great in the sense that I was single and 23, 24. So yeah, I met some of my dearest friends there. It was great. I was also very glad to leave.
Do you feel like Hong Kong was closest to what you knew from France, from the metropole, from Paris, or from La Réunion, which is more a melting pot of culture?
Neither, because one is really like a French remote island, right, with its own culture, I would say, and Paris is Paris, not even a representative of France, I would say. So no, Hong Kong is its own thing. Yeah. I mean, it's very British at the time anyway. It was very British and Chinese. And it was great, but again, like intense pace, very expensive. And also I got bored in my job, so decided to leave.
You feel like during this time at Hong Kong, you were the type of person who were invested himself 100% into this internship, into this job, or trying to say, okay, I'm going to spend maybe 60% of my time doing my job, owning my salary, and the rest will be enjoying this remote location.
Yeah, I was never, let's be honest, I was never into that job. It was the easy path. Like, I've done that job already through an internship. Funny enough, it was a Canadian company. And so I knew that I was going to be able to do the job and not spend 40 hours a week doing it.
Yeah, it was a supply chain transportation type of.
No, it was aluminum. Alcan.
Yeah.
Essentially, can say the name obviously. But we were like a business unit that was pure selling, buying and selling aluminum.
I see. And your job was really to work on more the data aspect of it, trying to generate reports
corporate
and
finance.
Analytics.
So consolidation, like I was doing accounting closing, the reports, the weekly reports to management, to corporate, etc. So just Excel spreadsheet. Let's be honest.
Yeah. So it was 99%. It was a little bit boring at the time, or
completely boring.
Yeah. So after a couple of years there?
No, just under a year.
A year. Okay.
Then move. So I was like, okay, finance not for me. Let's move on. I found a direct marketing agency in the neighborhood of Paris because I knew the founder of that company, and he was game to okay, well, I'll take you. I have absolutely no marketing experience. And, you'll start as a, junior project manager. Okay, well, I was like, sure. Like literally a fifth of the salary, I think. But also, different lifestyle and different cost of living for sure. But still, it was an interesting downgrade in salary. And it was great to stay 3 years there. I moved to, it was a small organization. I think when I started, we were 25. I left, we were probably 40, 45 people, I think.
So it was your first move from finance to marketing, right?
Yeah. Well, it was supposed to be marketing, right? But during, those 3 years, I moved from, and I was the Excel spreadsheet guy. So I started doing.
Yeah, I mean, if there was like a label that I could have put on your head during the first
Excel
years,
guy.
It was the Excel guy, right?
Yeah, for sure.
The Excel macro guy.
But that triggered everything else. The baseline is me discovering Excel in my first internship during
Yeah.
business school. I mean, I had an Excel class in business school,
Yeah.
and I failed that class like bad.
Yeah.
Okay, but I think why it's because I'm really not good at theories and having to do an exercise in Excel. Like I sucked at it. But when it was Excel in a practical
Yeah, in the
fashion,
context. Yeah.
it was good. So learn Excel
So
became pretty good.
is it the time where you started to fall in love for data?
I mean, I guess so. It's just it was easy for me to manipulate data, and I really love to find when something's not matching, I have to make it match,
Yeah.
right? So that's why finance became easy for me because I was good at looking at financial statement and like in a few minutes, oh, there's an issue here. Like I would go to I remember my very very first internship. I was at a private bank, and we went with my manager to a one of the company from which the founder was a client of the private bank, and they were doing their yearly call, with the stakeholders and
Yeah.
shareholders, and they gave us the financial statement, the book with the books,
Yeah.
and I browsed through this and like, wait, those two numbers should be matching because I'm in finance, I know this, and I told manager, he's like, no, like they have like dozens of people checking this thing, so he still checks it. And he's like, oh, he goes to the the CFO of the company,
Yeah.
showed him that, like, oh yeah, there's a, so then they started the call with, so there's a bit of a mistake in the book we just gave you. It's like, damn.
So you mentioned earlier that you like to be in control. You like to feel like you have yeah, you are in charge, right? So do you feel like Excel was this little word
Yeah,
where
maybe.
you had the control, you
Yeah.
felt like you understood the rule of this word, and you were able to influence the rest of the company through your sandbox?
Yeah, and also, I became good at it, and I got respected for it and valued for it. So, when you start a career and people
Yeah.
come to you, and the CEO of that business unit would literally come to me before his monthly call
Yeah.
and tell me, "Can you make me those graphs, those slides for me?"
Yeah.
Like, and you're the intern,
Yeah.
like, sure, James,
Yes.
I'll do that.
It was one of those early moments, those haha moments, as we say, where say, oh,
I guess, yeah.
It's maybe my thing. It's maybe how I'm good at that, right? I'm respected for that.
I mean, if you find in your life something where people value you for,
Yeah.
you're attracted to this path.
Yeah.
Right?
You want to invest yourself more into
Yeah.
it.
I mean, reward. It's as easy as getting rewarded for something, so I want more.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was never so much about finance or marketing. It was more about being able to continue to invest yourself into these
and something that
these skills.
I got, I was good. I knew I could get better. You're right, and that's, I think, talking about the next. I mean, the whole journey. I guess you're like, the baseline was always Excel.
Yeah.
So the Excel guy.
So you spent those 2 years into this CRM marketing.
3
years into this CRM marketing company. After that, what's moved you to move to the next?
Well, so the context is there. It's a family business, right? The owner and his wife owns the company, and they work in the company. President and I guess presidents, if you would. So I moved, from junior project manager to, at the end, no titles. It was still, my title was still project manager, but I was running the forecast. I was helping on accounting. I was planning the devs, workload. I was doing a lot of commercials and business development. I closed the biggest client of that company at the time. And got paid. And that's where I learned that you need to negotiate, because, and so that the owner of that company, one of my mentor, absolutely respect the person. He's like a second father at this point, and he taught me a lot in entrepreneurship. So closed that company, which at the time was like 400,000 euros a year of revenue for that company, which was a lot, probably like 15%. of the company revenue that year, and it was like, it's like, okay, I'm gonna give you a reward for that deal, and like, what do you want? And I was like, young, was like, oh, I don't know, like, can you pay me, part my iPhone, because I wanted to buy an iPhone. And it's like, sure, like, just do a business expense.
We were at around 20,
It was
2010, right?
2012, yeah,
12, yeah.
11 maybe,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
exactly, but
So,
yeah,
so
in
the,
that
the,
neighborhood.
the iPhone,
Yeah,
came out
iPhone
at the
4 just got out,
Yeah.
something, or maybe the next iPhone 4. I don't know
Yeah.
what was the name of that one. But I was like, I'm not gonna be, because it was expensive, right? So what I did is that I paid half of it, through my cell phone plan,
Yeah.
and then there was like 400 euros. I remember exactly 400 euros remaining, and so I did a business expense for 400 euros. I didn't even like charge the full thing, right? So I still paid half of it, and he was like, he paid for it. And then after I left the company a few years later, he told me, like, you could have asked me for so much more, and I would have given you that. And I told him, why didn't you? Well, the lesson. Now you
Yeah.
know. Anyway, so now now I know, obviously. Then no, that was great. But then, yeah, I was saying towards the end, I was doing a lot of different things, and like, I mean, anyway, for me, also went through a not such a great love story, or separation, anyway. And by the end of 2012, I was like, I went into his office and say, okay, I need something else. So, like,
Yeah.
what is my path? Here, like, I'm you're my ceiling right now.
Yeah.
I'm right, below you.
In terms of career path, or
Yeah.
yeah.
And I don't see, how I can break that ceiling. So he told me, well, listen, you stay another 5 years, I'll sell you the company. And you're at the time 27. 5 years is a freaking lifetime. So, like, thank you, but no thanks. So found a job as a sales rep, essentially, at a startup in Paris. Moved there, and that company got acquired by a big corporation called Teradata, which is now in my field, obviously. But at the time, I found myself from a successful startup, great culture, great atmosphere.
Yeah.
In the heart of Paris. I was like 15 minutes walk from my apartment, amazing. And then 6 months after I started, had to move the company moved into the far suburbs of the south of Paris. Horrible. And we had to go there, every day. So I moved from 15 minutes walk to 45 an hour commute in the worst RERB for the French people that are going to be listening this. And I quit, I think, 2 months after the company moved. To be fair, there was not just that. I also met, not re-met, let's put it this way, Emily, who became my wife, who's now my wife. And she moved to Canada in 2013, which is when I started in that startup. And so I wanted to go with her. So anyway, quitting that job was kind of an easy decision. And I guess something then, because we're going to jump into Canada, I already had a long relationship with Canada, in the sense that, well, Quebec specifically. When I was in Hong Kong, I started a company, or I was more of an investor in a comic book store in Trois-Rivières, which is, like north of Montreal.
You were in Hong Kong.
Yeah.
And from Hong Kong, you co-invested, or you co-created a comic book store.
Physical
Quebec.
store in the Quebec province in Canada.
How did it happen?
So my partner in that company, I knew him from my time at Rainy Island. He had a comic book store, the only comic book store of Rainy Island. Very successful bookstore, obviously the only one. And the guy knows his stuff when it comes to science fiction, fantasy, everything. Is a freaking genius. or at least very knowledgeable. And I was a client. I met the guy. I was 11. My first time in a comic book store, and that's when I got hooked on a lot of different things. At the expense of my parents, I guess. And so after, I mean, of course, when you're a young teenager, the guy is like in his 30s. Where I'm a client like anybody else, and then after a few years, you start to, you're a young adult, and he starts to invite you to like role playing game, tabletops, things like that. And in the end, we became friends. And he moved to Quebec himself, and he told me, "Oh, I want to start, that comic book store again. Same name, same thing." And I was in Hong Kong making good money.
Yeah.
I'm like, sure, I'll bankroll this. So I went to Canada twice a year, to check on things and just, feel good for myself.
Yeah.
I know I co-own this place. And at the time, the mentor, from that company, that marketing company I mentioned, told me, when I told him I had, invested into the thing, he told me, such a bad idea. I'm like, why? Because never be far from the business, you're in. I'm like, no, it's gonna be all good. But he was so damn right.
Wait, so you're moving to Canada at the time.
Yeah.
You are going check on this little business you co-own.
Yeah.
And what do you realize?
That it's not managed the way I would manage it, and it's cool, but it's not going to go anywhere.
Okay. Did you put yourself more like an investor or co-founder?
No. I mean, I couldn't say it was entrepreneurial journey, because I bankrolled, I helped, I managed the Facebook page.
Yeah.
I did a bunch of stuff, but I was very far. It's a physical store.
Yeah.
So you can't really do a lot apart from communication when you're like 2 continents away.
And the deal was like a revenue share, or?
Well, there was no deal because the company was not really printing money.
Yeah, but when you decided to invest into this store,
no, I just put some money against some shares.
Okay.
It was probably, I think it was like 35%, I think, of the company.
Yeah.
And
the shares were supposed to give you some revenues.
We again, it was young. We didn't even talk about that thing.
Yeah.
There was no shareholder agreement.
Yeah.
It was very, very standard stuff. We spent as little money on incorporating as possible. So it was a numbered company, not even a named company.
Yeah.
So it was 518-432 - whatever. Of course, it was it was called Area 51. So anyway, did that. And so the thing is that was coming to Canada, not a lot, but regularly.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed it. Like all the time I was coming, I was like, oh, it's just such a cool country. So when my, girlfriend at the time told me that she's actually moving to Canada for at least a year, I'm like, sure thing. No worries. And so, quit my job. I was hoping to move to Canada in October of 2013, but work permits at the time were a bit of a pain. And so finally arrived in December 2013. So slightly over 10 years ago.
Yeah. So you arrive in Canada being this Excel guy. I've done a little bit of finance, a little bit of marketing,
and sales.
A little bit of sales.
Yeah.
So like a jack of all trades, if I can say.
Yeah, somewhat. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But as a sales rep in that, account manager, really more than sales rep in that startup, I was also the Excel guy. Like I rebuilt the entire forecasting and like tool, because it was really bad, and also build a bunch of Excel templates for QBRs with clients. So yeah, still the Excel guy. And then so I'm doing all of that, moving to Canada, no jobs. And my girlfriend, so Emily, now I'm gonna say she's my wife for simplicity. My wife, also not having great success in finding a great job. So we find ourselves here in 2 months in February, still no outlooks for jobs. And I'm like, we're discussing, okay, well, we stay until April and then we move back to France, for example. So kind of a failure in my opinion. But end of February, got a call. And you know that company because you've interviewed there. I know that. Got a call from a recruiter proposing me a job as an email deliverability manager. Because I was, the startup, failed to mention that, but the startup I was working for was an email platform.
Yeah.
So I knew a lot about email deliverability.
Which was a big problem at the time. I remember that there was like around 2010, there was like this big boom of email campaign, email automation, this all R, the acquisition, activation, revenue, retention, referral.
The Pirates metric.
Yeah, exactly. The Pirates metrics, right? And this all growth hacking, like movements was born. There was this whole idea of trying to grow a company through those type of marketing, those type of activation and retention. So emails were a big problem at the time. Everyone was receiving a lot of emails. And it was when all those providers, Gmail, the Outlook, started to put spam. Put some,
it was a good moment for e-commerce. E-commerce was starting to become big, and newsletters were the main driver of e-commerce. Shops, and honestly, our startup, it was so easy to sell, like the email platform.
There are for.
No. So it was called eCircle.
Okay, eCircle.
But out by Teradata.
Okay, I see.
It was a great business because you were, again, we'll talk about it later, but right timing. I'm gonna say right technology, but it was nothing. It was not rocket science. It was built by Germans, so it was working, but it was not pretty.
Yeah.
But it was working.
Yeah.
And that's what you ask from an email platform at the time, is that you can segment the hell out of your database and send targeted messages. It was doing the job. It was not the cheapest in the market, but anyway, it was reasonable, and so it was great. But email deliverability was definitely painful for any email platform. Doesn't matter who you are. Like you said, the Gmail, the Microsoft, Yahoo, etc. They were all starting to put pressure on their spam filter teams, I would say. And it became not a science, but a full-time job to figure out how to get the emails in the inbox.
And were there those type of white hat, black hat type of
techniques?
Of techniques, yeah.
No, like you can't really hack your way into the inbox, I would say. So it was more about measuring the reputation of the IPs you're using to send emails, and then moving some of the flow. So the emails that were going to inbox, which were your best clients essentially, so your golden clients. That traffic was great, but you wanted to make sure that they will go into the inbox because those are the clients that make revenue for you. But you also want to use some of that good reputation for the not so great reputation. So you would do a bit of a loop on different IPs. You've got your bad traffic, and then you've got your medium traffic, and then your golden traffic. And so you're trying to, play around. Okay, let me put some of the bad traffic into the medium. So, kind of like trying to push things into the gold traffic as much as possible.
Yeah.
But it was...
it's what I'm calling black hat in the sense that at the end, it's the same email. You still want to bother the same person.
Yeah.
It's just that you find techniques to try to make your email more.
But it's legitimate. It's not spam as in you've never asked for the email. It's an email where you've asked to receive the newsletter from.
Yeah, I see.
Right?
Yeah.
Our platform was not dealing into actual spammers. Some platforms at the time were doing that. That was their entire business model, but they were burning through IPs like we're burning through.
On this term of spam, I think that sometimes we can refer spam as like an unsolicited email.
That's the pure definition, right?
Of it. And at the end, even though I subscribe to, I don't know, a company, or I just create an account, I will end up receiving a bunch of emails that I don't want still, right?
Yep.
Yes, I like the company, but I don't like the company as much to receive 10 emails per week, right? So at the end, those emails still are unsolicited, right?
Fully agree, but that's the brand's problem, not the email platform's problem. So, we don't control what the clients. I mean, we advise them. That's what we did. Like you're sending. That's why you've got such a high unsubscribe rate and poor reputation, is because you're sending too much email.
Yeah.
They're not relevant.
So when you are in this position of trying to be into this email delivery type of expert, right? Do you try to act to be more active towards ensuring that the campaign, that the quality of the emails are good, or do you try to, or do you have as constraints say, hey, listen, Cyril, we need to send those 10 emails per week per person, right? Just make it happen.
No, they're the one doing it. It's a SaaS platform, so they're the one doing whatever they want.
Yeah.
But they, and then they will come to us saying, "Oh, but my email, open rate is so bad." Then we analyze and tell them, "Well, sure, you're sending so many emails, and look at you, and then there's the code of the email itself, the HTML. Well, it's crap because spam filters also analyze the way you build your HTML. So it's not just the pace and the target of your audience. It's also the way you build your emails and the authenticity of the email by like DKIM, which is, and SPF, which are the two main authentication norms, I guess, in email. And so there's a range of things to that you can act on to improve deliverability. And that was part of my, it was not my job to fix, but it was my job to know all of those and advise the client.
And to provide some guidelines and recommendations.
Account manager is essentially, dealing with, high paying clients that have issues. Like you try to also, create new opportunities for your company and them, but usually it was more about, oh, this is not working. Like, what can I do? So premium support, I would say.
I see. So you joined this company, Viral Ninja Social Labs.
So that's in Canada.
Yeah, in Canada, as the CRM delivery guy.
Email deliverability manager. Yep. It was never my job before, but again, I guess I did well in the interview process because I knew what I was talking about. And started in that company, so very thankful because they did my work permit and everything. So and it was also my real first small startup experience, because the other one we were 300 throughout Europe. So it was kind of it was more than a scale up at the time. Now we call them scale up anyway. And that Viral Ninja, very small, 20 people. And they had issues with emails deliverability because they were not sending newsletter, they were sending referral emails. So you're sending emails to people that have not asked for the email, which might be the definition of spam in that case, but it's someone that wants to send you an email through that platform. So gray area. Legal, I'll say that.
Still legal now? Do you feel like with all the new privacy?
Yeah. Well, I started in that company at the time where the new castle law in Canada arrived. So it was also my job to make sure we were compliant. And it was, we were still compliant. It's just that we could only send one email. We're not allowed to send a reminder because we were sending reminder before. We were compliant. I don't think we had any legal issues. But again, to do my job, I needed data to go back to the Excel point. And so I did everything in Excel at the time, but there was no centralized. It was 2014. Like data warehousing, it doesn't really exist. Like BI is. There's Tableau in the market. There's Power BI. Early days. There's a bunch of platforms, but it's still, managed by obscure data people that are keeping things for themselves. There's no, or it's IT, which is probably worse. Not that IT is bad. It's just that the fact that that the control is very, very harsh. But in that startup, I got to get access because I was asking for data, and they gave me access to the slave database, the production transactional database of sending email, and I had to learn SQL or SQL, depending on how you want to call it. And that's when I moved from the Excel guy to the SQL guy.
Yeah, I mean it's a whole new world that
Oh yeah,
open in
it
front
was
of you,
so
right?
good though. So yeah, did that, and then could extract my data as opposed to bothering people, and a couple of years in the job, I'm like, okay, we need to, because I was getting, they knew I was good at building reports, so then I got, everybody. I mean, everybody. It was a small company, but a lot of requests like, can you give me the data for this? Can you give me the report for that? I was like, this is not sustainable. So I set out to find, a way to get people to self-serve. And it's 2014 still at the time. 2015? 2015 maybe. Anyway, and it's the very, very early start of what we now call the modern data stack.
Mm.
And at the time, databases, pretty expensive. Storage is very expensive. Compute is not really necessary, so not so expensive.
So, but at the time, if I recall, there was this whole. I mean, I remember that around those um, 2010, 2015, I will say, during these 5 years, it was the big, the whole big data era, right?
Yeah.
It was all
Teradata.
Yes, all the Hadoop, all those type of
IBM.
Yeah,
Mhm.
It was this big era where we believed that the future was around the computation of a lot and massive amount of data, right? So, and the companies were started to organize their data in a more clean fashion because they wanted at some point to leverage all data. But
well, it's like AI Gen AI in those days. It's a buzzword that everybody
it's
wants
the
to
thing,
do it.
right? Yeah.
And they're at the time they were saying that big data is like having sex for the first time.
Yeah.
Everybody's talking about it and says they're doing it, but nobody
Yeah.
knows how to do it.
Exactly. If there was the opportunity to have like a domain extension big data at the time,
Oh, yeah.
I think it's probably
Sold
going to
out
be,
within minutes.
Exactly. Yeah.
Mm.
Right. So I think that at least from my point of view, it was one of my first like the tech revolution. I would say that that I believe in at the time, and I got a lot of disappointment afterwards. Right. I felt like there was so much hype around big data, and data scientist was one of the most paid job in the world at the time, right? I remember I just graduated. They were the biggest, the highest salary, the job, the most paid. It was data scientist, right? More than
software developer.
or surgeon, right? Even like those
surgeon. You mean?
Surgeon. And it was a big thing. And years after years, nothing really came out of it.
Yeah.
Right? Everyone had those massive amount of data. They spend a
not
lot
so massive either. Like, the data we have today is like, I mean,
but for the time, at the time, it was
sure,
right.
Well, sure, but yeah, again, like maybe some data, and then you hire a bunch of people, do something with this data. But it's like you start a company and you hire a software developer and you tell them, so build me something with some code. And build me something. Like, no direction, no purpose, no metric, nothing is gonna happen.
Yeah. I think you're totally right. I think that it's always the same thing, right? You have a great tool, you have great technology, but you don't have any vision.
Yeah.
Right? Say, oh, we are going
no direction.
We're going to do so many things with all this data. Okay, what do you want to do?
Well,
I don't know yet, but we need to save all this data.
Analogy of that is like, let's go back in the 16th century, and you get a ship, and you try to venture into the unknown, right?
Yeah.
So you've got the technology, you've got the ship, and you go in there without any plans or any direction of where you want to go. Honestly, you're gonna be lost at sea, for sure, unless you're very, very lucky and you found out the new world. But that would be 1 in a million, and
a lot of investment.
Sure, and lives in this case, but so big data at the time, everybody was talking about it. Just a buzzword.
Yeah.
And then it moved into, okay, but let's maybe not talk about big data. Let's just talk about data, and let's start small, but try and figure out what we can do with it. And yeah, so that's when I do want to go back to what I was saying about me starting the data journey. Or
Yeah,
okay,
go continue.
I don't know.
Go for it. No, so you are a viral ninja. You realize that Excel is not good enough. At least you are limited by
Yep.
requesting the data. You start to put your hands into SQL and
Databases.
databases, and starting to realize some of the limitation of the
Ad hoc
infrastructure,
reports.
right?
Ad hoc reports. essentially.
Exactly. So then you said, okay, there is an opportunity. I mean, I want to serve myself, and I want to better structure our data infrastructure.
I want to make more sense of the data, but I don't want to be the one doing all of it. Like, I'd rather have people. No, I'm good. Thank you. That's. I don't want to. Like, to me, it was more of a. If you want to know the number of emails we sent yesterday, you should access that easily, because that's easy data, right? To get. So if you have to go to me to get that data, how inefficient is that?
I see. Yeah.
And so starting to look into I guess analytics databases. At the time, really, it was only one, Amazon Redshift. And great. So let's move the data into a data warehouse, which at the time was a pretty new term. But once you have that, you still need to model the data and expose it to people. And I set out to try all the BI platforms, and I found one, fell in love with a company called Looker, small company at the time. I think it was Canada's second client, or maybe first client.
It was still not acquired by Google.
Oh, no. It was early days. The CTO, I think, made the demo of the platform to me. And
why did you like this one in particular?
Well, it shifted the paradigm of, you're going to be an analyst that's going to be modeling the data and building dashboards for others. It shifted into, which was absolutely brilliant at the time, you're going to build what we call the semantic layer, or data modeling layer, and people are going to be able to explore that data that you've modeled, so that you trust that it's going to be right and accurate, but they're going to be able to build their own dashboards and explore it by themselves without having to ask you about that dashboard or whatever. And you could put descriptions into the field, and you could it evolved a lot, of course, in the past 10 years, but at the time it was really, really different and better. So I signed $500 a month at the time. 10 times less than what it costs today. But it was great, and then so they have a code called LookML, and starting to learn that. It was pretty easy when you know SQL, and become good at it, I think.
A new superpower in your hand.
Yeah, I guess. But it was great. It was really okay. So now we optimize the queries and the performance. So I started to learn about that, and indexing the databases, and ETL or ELT, which at the time actually was like extract, transform, load, or extract, load, transform. It's the two paradigm. Anyway, so did that for a couple of years, and company got acquired, and that's right at the moment that me and my wife were like, because now she's my wife at the time, let's let's go and travel.
Yeah. Why this need to travel at the time?
Well, it was I think because she went back to studying, and that was over, and I think her job was, I don't even recall if she was working or just studying. Anyway, point being that timing was right, because I was kind of like not into that new company, and she was not into any company, and we wanted to travel because we got married but didn't do any traveling or any honeymoon or anything. So we're like, okay, we wanna travel to New Zealand, but you need time to do that. And in the end, I was like, really insecure about money specifically. Like, like if I can't quit my job because if we come back and have no job, like we
Yeah.
have no money, what do we do? And then she worked on me, and what should have been like 3 weeks ended up being 5 months. And but that was a transformative trip. I guess we can talk about it. And so yeah, it was good timing. Again, timing is also very, very important.
Yeah.
We can talk about it, but yeah.
So why was it so transformative?
Well, it taught me that you don't need money because we traveled on a budget,
Yeah.
and it was, and that having a job for me was not what was important. It was just doing something I like to do, and that I didn't need to earn money out of it.
Yeah.
So traveled to New Zealand over 6 weeks, absolutely brilliant. And then 3 months through Southeast Asia, which is very cheap, but we were on a budget. I think we spent half our budget on the 6 week of New Zealand, and then 3 months in Southeast Asia for the same amount of money.
Yeah. So because money was something important to you before this time.
Yep.
Was it important or was it stressful?
It was stressful more.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like I hate debt, right? So I didn't want to have credit card. I don't like to live above my means.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I need to make sure that every month I have more money in my bank account
Yeah.
than when I start the month.
Still stay in control.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure, because no debt. I didn't want to find myself having to make decision based on the lack of money. I think.
Being caught by the pressure
of having to make, again, decisions that are not good for you because you're, and I was very, very lucky to I was never put into that. Not like, only my father was working at the time when I was young. My mother was not working, and he had a job, but it was not a surgeon or anything. It was an IT, a specialist, and so we had money. But my parents taught me that like, you don't need to be rich to have a good life, and we had a great life. We traveled a lot with only one person, working already.
Yeah. So if you grew up with this in this mindset of money is not important, how did you end up becoming stressed about it before coming back to your initial?
I don't know. I mean, let's not say that I was stressed as in looking my bank account, every single day. It was more of a, if I'm not gonna be having no budget when I have but I wanted to go there. I wanted to go into a realm where I can go to any restaurant and pay for it and don't even care about the actual bill of it, right? I didn't want. I mean, I still haven't any interest in having a yacht or a big mansion or a Ferrari or whatever. What I want is invite my friends at a restaurant, be it a good or shitty restaurant, and just pay for it because I want to pay for it, and I have no care in the world about the actual amount of that restaurant.
It's a liberty, right?
Yeah.
That money buy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, but that trip taught me again that you can live on a very low amount of money and you can be very happy. And also made me really, really aware of the plastic problem in the world, because Southeast Asia is littered with plastic. And I came back from that like, I need to write a book about this.
Yeah, I remember now. Yeah. You wanted to write a book about, like, it was almost like a police or like a serial killer.
It's still, I mean, hopefully I'll still gonna be able to write it at some point. It's still a thriller. But with a very climate change, ecology theme.
So going from sci-fi, you
I wrote sci-fi when I was young.
Yeah. You were a sci-fi.
I'm still
author, right? And I mean,
amateur writer.
Yeah. You feel like at some point going back into writing is going to be a thing. Is it?
I hope so. Honestly,
Yeah.
I think I want to, because I really enjoy writing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you still writing a little bit on your spare time? Or?
No, but no, as in I'm not doing that, leisurely. But I wrote a lot of blog posts when I was well, I guess I haven't wrote in a while, but I really enjoyed writing blog posts. And yeah, I think I want to do a lot of things. I want to be a better guitar player. I want to
Yeah.
also write. So we'll see. But yeah, probably I think the horizon for me is probably 5 to 10 years for that.
Yeah. Are you still playing guitar?
I try to. My
Yeah.
wife would say that I'm not playing nearly enough to be called a guitar player, but
Yeah.
I've got a lot of guitars.
Are you going to reform this group, the Red Dots?
Oh, geez, no. How do you know about this one? No. Because first they're all in France, and that was that was a good story, but it's a story that ended.
Yeah.
Don't tell me you've got a video. Okay. Anyway,
So
go ahead.
an author, a guitar player, data maniac, a comic store owner,
Mm,
So how do you in this phase of your life, you have your art in a lot of places at the same time, right? You feel like you need to focus? Do you feel like you need to expand to more areas? You have this new ecology type of mindset coming from Asia. You want to write a book about ecology. How do you navigate through all those opportunities?
I guess you don't do much
Yeah.
in that case. I mean, for me anyway, because I've never been, and until I started Montreal Analytics, I was never really hardworking. Let's be honest. I found areas where I was good at, so it made me, like not having to work too much for it.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I didn't achieve much. I was doing, like you said, a lot of things, but it's also my personally, I like to do a lot of things, and maybe I'm not going to be fully successful in one.
Because from my perspective at the time, you felt like a very talented and smart guy, but with a lot of untapped potential, right?
Yeah, that's what my teachers would say.
Yeah, no, but so it's those situations where you feel that someone can achieve a lot of things, has his mind
But with
and brain
focus.
well, but yeah, lacking focus, or lacking maybe more than focus is a vision. Is trying to know, where do I want to go? What do I want to achieve in the next 5-10 years?
Honestly, I don't think it was a vision issue, because I knew I wanted to start a company. So I kind of like, and we started a company together.
Yeah.
And
A project.
Well, yeah, sure. But we started a journey together,
Yeah.
an entrepreneurial journey. It was not the only one. I had after the comic book store, I started a event company in organizing Comic-Con, things like that.
Dimension.
No, StellarCon.
StellarCon.
Yeah.
Where did you met Daniel Jackson for the second time there?
Yes. Okay, you've done your research. It's Michael Shanks. Actually, Daniel Jackson is the character.
Yeah, I know.
SG-1.
Yeah.
SG-1 forever.
More than Star Trek.
Okay. Yes, because I watched a lot more SG-1 than I did of Star Trek, because I was growing with SG-1 as it was being released, whereas Star Trek has been released for a few years already.
I think SG-1, Stargate SG-1 was the Star Trek of our generation.
Yeah, I mean, so some people would say that Star Trek of our generation is Star Trek, but
Star Trek existed way before.
Oh yeah,
right.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
After that, there was all those new version of it. But yeah, did you start it with the movie The Hook or the TV show?
The movie.
The movie
Yeah,
was
yeah, definitely.
The Hook.
Yeah. The movie was absolutely brilliant. Still is. hasn't aged too much.
Yeah.
But no, the show. I mean, now I've watched them back, and I'm like, oh, that's a bit of poor CGI sometime, or
Yeah.
costumes are like meh.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I just got hooked, and yeah, I
Yeah.
got to meet the cast of SG1 a few
Yeah.
times.
Yeah. And it was like an important thing because when, and we're going to talk about it just after, but when you created Montreal Analytics and decided to define the brand of the company, the brand was very much oriented towards Star Trek,
Yeah, of
SG1
course.
type of visuals,
Yeah.
right? So it was part of your identity, right? That I
Mhm.
mean, you define yourself and you assumed 100% this.
I'm a full geek.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Not so much a gamer geek. Like
Yeah.
I've played a few video games, but
Yeah.
not really. But yeah, like playing tabletop role playing games.
Yeah.
That's my jam.
Yeah. So so after your trip, you're coming back to Montreal with this idea of I want to write a book
Mhm.
about ecology at some point and social rights,
Right.
that kind of things, right? But still with the desire to go back into the tech world and trying to put your mind and hands into data still.
No, I come back saying I'm not gonna find a job. So
Mm.
thanks to my wife, that was possible because we came back. She found a job in the next 2 hours, I think, when we came back to Montreal. And she was the one paying for everything. While I was calling myself a writer for
Yeah.
6 months, I think. But like white page syndrome.
Did you really wanted to become a writer at this point,
Yeah.
to make it a living and
Yeah,
to,
I was,
to
'cause
quit tech and just write?
I mean, I never said I'm not gonna work anymore. Sorry, but I really thought that I could succeed as a writer.
But so this is I think this is at the time where, to me, this idea of someone finding himself really came, right? Because again, you had this expertise in data, right? You had this entrepreneurial mindset. You knew quite well finance, right? I mean, you knew marketing, you knew sales, you knew all those things, and then you come back from Asia saying, "I'm going to go into this cave and become a writer." It was like,
Is that really smart? Is that what you're saying?
I'm not saying it's smart. I'm just saying that it was weird. It was strange.
Okay.
And again, it's no judgment here at whatsoever, right? But it's what came to my mind. What's happening is his mind, right? Where is he? Is it like did he find his calling, and like writing and making an author is like who he is finally, and is going to invest himself 100% into it? Or is it like an escape area to just close your eyes on something else where you felt maybe less, I don't know.
Okay, well, damn, yeah, that makes me question the whole thing now. There's probably a part of because like I'm always talking like, yeah, I'll start a company, I'll be an entrepreneur, but it actually doing it is very scary. And so maybe not working and trying something where again had some skills or facilities to not facilities, sorry, that's like exactly, like it was easier for me to write because I was writing when I was young. I've been writing a lot of fun fiction of different Star Trek, Star Wars, whatever. And so it was kind of like again easy, right, as opposed to actually starting a company where I was at the time inexperienced and not with a great track record with two failed companies so far.
And small project, right? You had this Rasputin, which was like a
Yeah.
merchandise type of project.
Still there.
Yeah.
It was kind of a muse. So Rasputin was never supposed to be the company.
Yeah.
I read the book 4 Hours Week
Mhm.
in 2012, I think, and like, damn, that sounds good on paper.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I'll at some point I'll try and find a muse, drop shipping, something like that, and but I wanted to do something a bit more, with an identity, and so yeah, I created this apparel brand called Rasputin
Yeah.
for the French market.
So you had this Rasputin like merchandising type of
Apparel, yeah.
company. You had this small project, Polemic, which was this
Yeah. Web comics.
yes,
Yeah,
these
yeah.
little web comics. None of them really picked up. You are one.
How did you find that Polemic? Did I share that with you at the time?
Yeah, obviously.
Shit.
I was reading
Okay.
it. It was very funny. It was.
I thought it was funny personally.
No, it was funny. It was those little three
stripes,
jokes, and it was no. It was.
It's in French though, so
It was in French, but it was fine. But my point is, you start those little projects for maybe more for fun than anything else.
Yeah, but with the hope that it would lead to something else.
But that doesn't really pick up, and then you say, oh. Fuck, it's maybe more complicated than I thought.
And it's not picking up, so I'm giving up.
Yeah, and maybe you feel like you are not in control, right? Even though you are passionate, even though you are not in control of what people...
Yeah, but it's also, I think I got discouraged pretty fast that it was not picking. Like, I really, like Polemic, if we want to do a quick highlight of that, I really thought that people would really enjoyed it because it's my bad, I guess, but I thought it was really funny, and I thought it was gonna be picked up and it would grow. Sorry, and I mean, I had absolutely no idea what it would lead to, but I thought it was an entry point for being a writer, as being writer for webcomics, and because a few like people succeeded a lot, like the Oatmeal. Started with webcomics, things like that, and Cyanide and
what the Oatmeal?
The Oatmeal is I mean, he's a guy, but he has a webcomic that is absolutely brilliant, and so I'm and just one, right? But there's a number of them, and Dilbert also, things like that. So I'm thinking, I like writing. I knew that I'm very bad at drawing though, so I built everything in Illustrator in vectors
with
and
silhouettes.
so exactly, only shades and silhouettes of people from the back, so I didn't have to draw anything. And I made a bunch of templates, and then every day I would just change the template and look at what was the news, because it was based on political news, right? And try and find something, but it was always very funny to do.
Yeah. So it was a disappointment that it didn't really work, but
I didn't push it very far. That was the issue with me, I think, at the time anyway, is that I need results fast, or I'm gonna give up, which is not great, in my opinion. And I think it was the same with writing. Like I wrote I don't know, a number of drafts of the first chapter, or at least the outline of the book. I'm like, no, and never really go into it. So after 6 months, I'm like, that's not working, and I was trying to find an escape of that, and here comes Loris.
Yeah. So at the time, then we have this I would not call it small, but we had this interesting project around chatbot. It was the big data era is gone.
The new hype
is become silent, and the new hype is chatbots, right?
Yeah,
and
because messengers, I mean, Facebook had released their AI chat. I mean, not AI, I guess messenger chatbot. I don't recall the name exactly. Messenger Facebook released an actual chatbot in Messenger.
I forgot the name too. But it was like all those platforms were starting to have more automation. There's this big problem around support and the time spent doing support, and we believe that AI, NLP, and at the time NLU were going to solve the whole thing. So a lot of investment there. Everyone is starting his own thing. We jump into the mix saying, "Hey, you."
But with a great angle.
Yeah, I mean the angle was I think it was mainly a tool to broadcast the messages to different platforms, right? And I think that I don't know if you remember the whole story around how it came up.
Well, you mean the actual birthday of Broid, or
how we came up to share this.
Well, if I remember correctly, can we name him?
Yeah, of course.
So Isam, hopefully he's gonna be in that podcast. Hey Isam, drive safely, Isam. Inside joke. So Isam, as I remember it, Isam was trying to build his own personal assistant, but he wanted to reach that assistant on several platforms. And so he didn't find an easy way to have his own chatbot on different platforms. So he set out to build that exact, translator. It's like, crap, let's do a business out of it.
Yeah. So it was
that's what you're thinking about.
Yeah. I was working with Isam at BuzzBud at the time, and I same. I was like passionate about entrepreneurship, extra, but I never had any project nor whatsoever. But Isam was this guy who used to always build things, do prototypes. This like a garage type of genius, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he was.
You said garage, not garbage, right?
No, garage. And he was coming at the office with all every day or every week with the update on his chatbot project. And one day he told me, at least it's how I remember it, that he said that he was going to quit, and that because he was spending more time on these all connections, all those connections to platform, all those integrations, than working on the bot itself. And so I said, why not putting that open source? And then after putting that open source, we saw a big spike of traction. So
stars.
Yeah. And anyway, a story for another time. But it was.
I mean, it's worth talking about it. I think.
Talk about it, but I really want to go into Montreal Analytics too, and understand a bit this part of your journey. Yes, it's a nice logo.
Right. So I guess after Broid, I found a new job because Broid didn't pan out. And find my job in this very building that we're recording the podcast at a company called Bus.com, not BuzzBud, but Bus.com, as a product manager, but for the data team, or at least for the data products. And went on for 9 months only, and for several reasons that we can go into them, but let's just say that it was not for me, either the company or the job. I mean, not the job, but the company itself. And I was like, F this, I don't want to work anymore for someone, because I'm so fed up of going into a company with a lot of hopes and finding that you have ideas and you think they're very, they're much better than what others' ideas are, but either they're discarded or someone takes them and takes the credit. And I was like, no, I'm bored with politics and drama. I'll freelance.
Yeah, it was. Recognition was something important for you along your journey, right?
Yeah, for sure. Like, not fame or just acknowledgement of the work I've done, and I've been I've never had any issue with that.
Why do you feel you need so much recognition?
You're gonna go back to my childhood.
No, I
And
don't
you
know, but it's an important question, right? Because it, when you are looking for recognition, when your motivation are
yeah,
outside yourself, it's more complicated to find happiness. No.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, it's just that maybe the fundamental issue is not I like you to tell me I'm doing a good job. It's more like I'd like to work with you and you acknowledge my ideas. I acknowledge your ideas, but you're not trying to take credit for my ideas, or I want to respect you for intelligence. And if I work with you and I feel like you're doing a poor job, but you're very good at politics, and you're actually moving into upwards in the company, whereas I think I'm better than you.
Yeah.
So I think it's a mix of wanting recognition but also wanted fairness, maybe.
Mm.
um
Equality is something important for you as well.
mhm. I think it's because I have a brother.
A big brother.
Big brother. But yeah, he would not agree with that. He would probably say that you had way more than me. Maybe,
Yeah.
but yeah, but also, yeah, I guess recognition is something I like, but I learn that recognition is not something you should pursue, especially as an entrepreneur, because it's a thankless job sometimes, or most of the times.
Yeah. Especially if you seek recognition from your employees.
Oh yeah, don't do that,
Yeah.
because that's
Yeah.
gonna be bad.
Yeah.
And you can't push people. And if someone tells you, boss, you're doing such a great job, is it because you wanna send a compliment to the boss, or you're
Yeah.
genuine?
Yeah. So you are at buzz.com. You find that it's not for you. You want to be your own master in a
Mhm.
sense. You want to be in control of your own destiny. Of you want to be able to implement your ideas and your vision. Then what happened?
Well, so I started freelancing first.
Yeah.
I quit the job, and then so there was one company at the time called Fishtown Analytics, now called DBT Labs, unicorn. And they were doing data consulting, Looker consulting, but also they had this cool open source product called DBT, data transformation tool. And I lean into it, really like the paradigm that it took software development and moved it to the data teams. And I really like the culture. I met the CEO. I called the CEO of that company. They were like 12 people, I think. So, I could call the guy. And it was very, very nice. He gave me a bunch of advices. And they have a lot of transparency around their culture, their values, and like, damn, that's they're doing it the way I would do it.
Yeah.
And so for my freelancing name, I didn't want to do as a freelancer. I wanted to do it under the umbrella of a brand.
Was freelancing something temporarily in your viewpoint, or was it
Well,
something
I,
you
I,
wanted
kn-
to leave?
I wanted to try because I've never done that. And my goal was like, you know what? I'll work 6 months, do a yearly salary as if I was an employee, and maybe we travel 6 months with my wife. So it's kind of a temporary thing. They say I'm not going to do that full year, but we'll see.
It was also the time of digital nomad and those type of
Yeah, it
trends as
started
well,
for
right?
sure. Yeah, I mean, it already started. But yeah, that was 2019. Yeah.
So working half of the year and traveling the rest.
Yeah.
It was very far from what ended up to be.
Yeah, well, I wrote about it. I blogged about it.
Yeah.
I don't know if you read those, but so
I will put the link in the description.
nice. Get me some views. Medium is actually paying me now. So starting freelance, and I met a bunch of freelancer because I've never done that. So I met a bunch of software developer, front end, back end developers, and that were doing freelance, and they all told me, so don't worry if in the first year you don't get a contract because it's gonna take time. Like, oof, okay. But I started my first contract with Buzz.com. I left the job, but they still need a bit of work done. So I had my first contract. It was small. and then sales experience. I'm not gonna wait for the contract. I'm gonna go and chase them. And so to me it was like, okay, well, I'll target the companies that are hiring for what I want to do, which is looker work, right? So business intelligence development. And I found a company that immediately got me on 40 hours a week at a very high rate in USD. So when you do that Canadian dollars, it was like, darn, like I'm literally gonna make in 3 months more money than a year of my previous job. So 40 hours a week, and then I got another contract, 15 hours a week. So I was billing 50 hours a week plus, because I'm really into not frauding people. So I was actually doing the work, which means that I was working way more than I've ever worked in my life. And but so and at some point, and I also started in partnership with Looker before they got acquired by Google, and they were going to send me subcontracting gigs. And I'm like, like I need to. That's not going to work out like myself. Yeah. So I have this path now. Not that path, but like the what's the word? Sorry.
It's crossroad.
Crossroad. Thank you. I'm like, what is this thing? Crossroad is either I say no to business and I try and bill 40, 50 hours a week, and I make good money, and then we'll see what we do with that, or
I scale it.
Yeah, I try and scale it anyway. And damn, that was again great timing, right? And I'm like, okay, let's do it. Like, let me find my first employee.
What was it a crossroad where you took time to consider things, or was it like an obvious decision?
It was pretty fast. It was probably 1 week, and discussion with my wife, obviously.
Yeah. Like, are we putting aside our 6 months in Bali?
Well, and she wasn't specifically, and we just also, let's be honest, we had cats, young cats at the time, and now like traveling for 6 months was not an option anymore.
So you made one of your biggest life decision based on cats,
like anybody should do. Yeah, big time.
I respect that. Again,
it would be the same with kids. Like I guess you can always manage, but it was also
for sure it's more difficult to put kids in a shelter for 6 months.
I'm not gonna commend that. But so that crossroad, sorry, and decide to incorporate the company and spend.
Were you excited, stressed? What was your
mindset? I was really excited. Yeah. I was really excited. Like, let me. So I'm finding Martin, my first employee at the time, and I'm making him an offer. And then we discuss a bit on different things, and so I was not paying myself anymore. I was putting all of my billable times into the company so that I could have 6 months of his salary in the bank account in case. And timing, I incorporate in end of January 2020, and I find Martin in mid-February, I think. And 2020, for people who don't remember, is a very, very interesting year. And so that's COVID year, obviously. So we agreed with Martin, mid-February, but he didn't sign anything. But he told me, I already quit, so it better works out. It has to work out. And that's where I got stressed, because before he actually quit, it was there's a way out, but he did quit, so no, there was no way out. Like, he had to come and work with me. And so he did. But his first day was the very first day of the lockdown.
So what the market looked like from your point of view at the time? Because at the beginning of COVID, there was this situation where basically at least from my point of view, where there was two categories of companies, right? The companies who were relying on like people being available to move freely, and the company who weren't, right? So there was a bunch of companies that ended up having a lot of money, a lot of opportunities because they were growing very fast. They had a bunch of investments, and there was all those companies that were very much in trouble now because they couldn't really exist, and because of again the lockdown and all. So the market split in a way, right? So there was half, maybe, or a third in terms of number of companies that could be interested by your services, but that's at the same time they had 3 times more money than before.
Let's discuss this because I don't think I agree. So before the actual lockdown and everything that came out of this, the BI, the data, not big data, but the modern data stack market started to really grow fast, right? And Looker and the tools like Fivetran, and then Snowflake appeared. Google went into that as well, acquired Looker, of course, for some amount of money. And so there was already a fast pace of growth in that domain. So then that's why I didn't lack work at all when I was freelancing. But what COVID did is that it completely accelerated the whole thing, because all of a sudden you didn't have access to your employees in your office, I feel. And so everybody wanted to have more self-serve things, to be able to get data, and as opposed to asking the guy next, the woman next, not next door, but in the next chair. So what's the data point for that? Well, you wanted to have some amount of access. That's why also, like remote tools, the Slack, the video conference platforms, they exploded because of that, obviously. And you add that to very low rates and fundraising that exploded in a couple in the 2 years of COVID. Well, then you find yourself companies that have money, need to have some amount of access to data without asking people. And furthermore, we're in the paradigm of data is very important. So, like early 2000s, there was this sentence by, I can't recall exactly who said that, like every company should be a software company, right? And then every company should be a product company. And as I say, I think that 2015 is the start of every company should be a data company. And so there's this whole thing where boards and investors and C-levels are asking for more data infrastructure, money, plus the right technology. Well, then it kind of exploded in the past 4 or 5 years. So my timing could not have been better.
So there was no real reason to be stressed then when Martin, your first employee.
No, but it was the first time I had an actual employee.
Okay, but it was going to be the case regardless of COVID, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So
no.
Okay. So
it's just
the
that.
stress was
but
really about.
he started lockdown, and immediately, like the different things that was supposed to get the contract that was supposed to start, they just stopped. Like, well, no, actually, we're gonna wait, see how things are going. So my January, February were a great month. I mean, it was just me working. Actually, did the layer care Looker implementation that this was probably January, actually.
I remember I did my Looker training with you.
Oh yeah, because you just started at the time, no?
I started in April 2020.
Right, because that implementation lasted at least 2 months, I think. Anyway, so
were you organized and set up to onboarding employees, or it was still this a bit chaotic and you were just basically a group of 2 freelance almost working and organizing?
So first, just to finish the point, sorry, I was trying to make the like March and April revenue was dropping, so that's why I got stressed, because I had a contract for Martin. So when he started working on his very first day for a client. And you're right, it was we were a couple of freelancers. like, it was working for a client and another client that was working on other clients. We would just, say hello on Slack and exchange a bunch of stuff, but otherwise it's pretty much you do your stuff, I do my stuff. And then the second employee arrived, it was pretty much the same thing. But then we got together in the end of the summer, and we're very, very, all three very busy employees of Montreal Analytics, or freelancers within the same organization, and we get together and we say, okay, we like, how can we make this the next level? And so yeah, keep hiring employees, keep finding partnerships and business, and we it was a lot of growth in 3 years.
Yeah. So a lot of opportunities, great partnership with Looker, great markets. What were some of
great skills?
What were some of the challenges then? I mean, everything was the path was very open to you, right? There was a lot of opportunities. What were the challenges really that you faced at the time?
And so on that, I'll answer the question I didn't answer. Was we were always set up for COVID because we started as a remote company. Martin, one thing was that I don't want to come to the office. I want to work from home full time.
And there was no office at the time.
No, but I was considering, renting an office. Yeah. But he told me, I'm coming with you at the express condition that I don't have to come to the office.
And you still don't have an office today, right?
No. I'm like, sure. I mean, I've been working from home for the past 4 months. For 5 months, so I'm good with that. I know I can do it, and you want to do it. I don't have to pay for rent. Yeah, hell yeah.
Earlier, when talking about your comic book store, you told me that one of your boss at the time in France told you never
be far from your business.
Yes,
but I was not far. So the one thing with consulting work is that if you're not working, it shows pretty fast, I would say. And it's about trust in the people. You hire.
But you trusted as well your friends running the comic store.
Sure, but it was not a problem of work.
Yeah. So, but did you put in place KPIs, metrics, or way to ensure that you were heading to the right direction?
No, I mean, the only metric I had was customer satisfaction. Certifications, and exams that we had to go through to get certified in different things. And let's be honest, Martin was way better data engineer, analytics engineer, BI, whatever we call them, than me. Like he's been doing that more, for longer than me. It was just that I was more of the.
So as long as you are certified, as long as the customer is happy, I'm happy.
Yeah. And you've got your timesheets and everything, and because we're selling hours at a time,
so no need to have this big operational setup. It was based on trust and confidence.
I'm finding the business, and they're delivering it, and I'm also delivering some of it.
So what led you to the second, third, fourth employee after that?
Well, just too much business for us to handle, right? And so originally I was like, oh, you know what? Actually, we can grow Montreal Analytics to like 10, 15 consultants. And then with all the amount of data we'll gather from what those companies need, let's build a SaaS platform out of it. Yeah. But let's use consulting revenue to fuel product development. Yeah. And, we don't have to raise funds, and it's going to be just us. Let's do a MailChimp, all over again. And didn't go that way at all.
It's always this
the plan.
I felt like it's a common plan, right? To have these like freelance consulting gigs that finance the R&D, but at the end, it's like when the money comes from consulting, you end up being cut with that and focusing your time on that more
exactly.
than building a product.
So,
right?
And at the time, I chatted with a couple of entrepreneurs that had a consulting firm and tried to do product at the same time, and both failed. But then they both decided to just drop completely the consulting arm. Either one of them sold it, one of them just fired everybody and just focused on the product, and they succeeded. So like, okay, that's not gonna work. And it's very difficult. So when consulting is the services arm is so successful and growing, you want to go where the business is, right? You don't want to take risk onto the unknown. And furthermore, it's not like I had a great track record of
But
building SaaS.
But again, it's another crossroad, right?
Yeah.
You have to decide between
The original plan.
Yeah, going left, continuing to make good money, focusing on what you know best, or going right, investing into building a product, having all the sexiness associated to it, right? I mean, it's building a product. I'm a product guy, right?
Yeah.
But building a product.
So what do you do? I
No, but
I'm building software.
What is interesting in building a product or building a SaaS is that it's the pure definition of scalability, right?
Yeah.
Because in a
if
sense,
it's well
if
built.
it's well, yes, if it's well built. But my point is, if you succeed to build your product, you don't need as much humans to scale, because when you are a consulting company,
no, sure, you scale with people. I mean, 100%. But it's also, startups are product companies. I mean, it's like having consulting business is not sexy, as you said. But I try to make it sexy with a cool logo and sci-fi theme and a pretty cool website. If I want to be honest,
you felt like you were in competition with those from an hiring perspective with those startup tech product companies?
No, because we were working with them, and I don't think none of them like considered us as under them or anything. So it was pretty nice. And the fact that we were growing very fast, like faster than actual startup with investment, I think really helped me get some amount of recognition. We're back to there with entrepreneurs.
And entering the entrepreneur circle.
Well, I think if I wanted to spend more time into that circle, I could. But right now it's not really my focus. But I mean, for sure, people that would not talk to me before Montreal Analytics are now calling me, not to ask me anything, but we're keeping track of each other for the next thing, maybe.
Are you proud of it?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So I mean, yeah. I said, yeah. I mean, yeah, 3 times. So yes, I guess yes.
Yeah. Because you feel part of a unique group in a sense.
Well, it's just that I think one of a common link of all the different things I've done is that I wanted to prove people wrong, like people that sometimes expectation of me. I remember at school, like someone's gonna tell me, you're not gonna be like good at doing this, and like, sure, pal, let me try and show you. So writing came up with that, I feel, and then math, and then business school, maybe Excel, like failing the class maybe means like I want to be good at Excel in the end. And the same thing, during through entrepreneurship. Well, like VCs and entrepreneurs are not really interested in me, and why should they be? Like, it's not like I have something to offer. But now that I've proven that I can do what they did, or maybe better than what they did, now they open the door, or they come to me.
Yeah. So when you wanted to write this book around ecology, right? And again, I don't want to go too much into the plot, but it was about people attacking and murdering capitalists. And
it was not capitalist. So there was a movie actually that came with a similar idea, but it was not about. So it was about someone that wanted to make its own justice, like Batman kind of thing, if you would. But that someone was not what he thought or she thought they were.
But you always, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, but you always identified yourself more towards being more on the left wing of things, right?
Sure.
And to be again fighting injustice, being like trying to not be on the trying to focus on the people more than the money, in a sense, right?
Raised, you mean?
Sorry?
Raised? Trained, like what do you mean by trained?
No, used. Yes, I mean you wanted to you always identify yourself as trying to to become not caught by the money demons, right? And trying to and now you are in this situation where you are respected by all the VCs,
Well,
all
not
those.
all. I mean,
Some VCs, right? And you are successful. You feel a tension between being like an entrepreneur, a founder, having employees, being successful, getting a lot of traction, a lot of money, and at the same time trying to be a people person.
No, because one thing that is very important is like to be true to myself. So I want to wake up in the morning and I want to look at myself in the mirror, and I don't want to have a second thought like, I mean, I did this thing. I'm not proud of it. So Montreal Analytics was started, with the aim to, I mean, sure, make money, but not to sell the company. There was never any plan to sell the company. The goal was, let's make it maybe a business where we get each other, like 200 to 50K a year, and we're happy about it, and we don't have to deal with drama, etc.
Almost a family business.
Yeah, exactly. Like business, lifestyle business, right? And the thing is that I'm like early on, because I'm a very big fan of Buffer. Like the social network, not platform, but like platforms, and we use that at Broid actually. And the culture of transparency, and being adamant that culture is the one thing that you can't compromise on, and that this is what's going to drive the vision of your organization. And so I hired, my first, I think, 4 employees. And by I think the 6th, the 7th, I wrote down the culture deck, the first culture deck of Montreal Analytics. Transparency was already there because from day one, everybody had the same salary. The first, and I got a very much lower salary because I wanted to put money in the bank mostly, and I knew how much money I needed, and compared to what Emily, my wife, was making.
So everyone in the company, you were 5, 6, or 7 at the time.
So the first 7 employees got the same salary. Yeah.
How did it work? Did you feel like there was tension?
No, that was the whole purpose, was to avoid tension. To say, well, this is your starting salary. You get this certification, you get this salary. You get this certification, you get this salary. And then it was kind of a deal, like, because we were doing, consulting, and I thought at some point I would move to more of a like law firm type of partnership, sharing dividends and things like that. So everybody would get like a share of the business they were billing for. And if they would actually bring a client, just like law firms, you would actually get a share of the revenue generated by that client.
So you still have this bonus type of...
Not anymore. I mean, no.
But at the time,
we did it the first year. And I had to drop it the second year because we started to grow, and then I had to put structure into it, and the whole partnership thing was out of the way pretty fast.
So you saw only benefits into this structure of same salary for all at the time.
Not so. Yes, I mean it was quickly like not the same salary, but it was at least everybody knew what each other was making.
Yeah.
So there's no why are you getting paid more than me? Like we wrote down exactly. So you're level this, you get that. You're level this, you get that. Everybody, like I was showing all the numbers, money in the bank, and there was real transparency on everything, and we kept that, until today. Actually, today we still have an open salary policy for the. I guess we'll go into that, but for the North American arm of Datatonic.
I see. So 6 employees. You write the culture deck. You put in place this strong culture towards transparency. What the next steps?
So there's a saying that said that every time you double the company in size of employees, you have to invent the company, and it's pretty darn accurate. So yeah, I mean, the first 2 employees, and then when we were at 4 already, we had to put some amount of structure, calls once a week to make a check on projects, which we didn't do before, because you trust everybody to do their own thing. And then first project manager hired in I think it was February March 2020 2021. And then all of a sudden you've got people that are not just billable, people that's supposed to do internal stuff. And I find myself more and more struggling to do my billable time because I'm still supposed to do billable. And because I'm working to build a company. So have to reinvent, the structure of the team. And so I'm like, okay, I've got my two first employee, Dino and Martin. They both have different skills. So I'm gonna put Martin as the lead for that data engineering field. Dino will be the lead for the BI team, the BI consultants that we had, and we grew like this for 6 months, I think. So growing both teams, but then the issues became that they're supposed to work on the same projects most of the time, but it's two different teams. So that didn't scale, and so we had to change completely again. So we moved into Martin took the CTO, if you would, or VP engineering, VP of technology, I think was the term, and Dino took the VP of delivery, so all the consultants. Martin was responsible for the learning and the best practices and different path, exactly, internal tools. Dino was running all the consultants to make sure that they're working together, whatever their skills. Then we grew again, and then we came up with the pod structure. So the pod structure is one team. The consultants are ML, data engineers, BI people, product owner, but they all report to the same person, which is the pod lead. And even if they have very different skill sets, and they may have more senior people than the pod lead in the pod, it doesn't matter because we train those pod leads to be good managers. And their role is to be good managers, not to be the technical expert of everything.
What is the size of those pods?
8. We stopped at 8 because less than that, it's a lot of overhead for us anyway. To have line management, that is very expensive salary compared to the other ones, non-billable, and more than that, it's too much work for one manager.
Yeah, and when the pod get a project that doesn't require necessarily the expertise of everyone in the pod.
All the time. It doesn't matter. So we built the consulting. We built Montreal Analytics. I built Montreal Analytics. Again. With no, that's definitely a team thing. We built it in a way that it had to scale, and we wanted simplicity. I didn't want to spend my time on invoices, a week every month, figuring out how many hours were spent on what client and looking at timesheets and so we built it again with a bit of buffer style in mind. We had plans, so what we call sprints. We were selling sprint. We're not selling hours. We're selling value,
which was like a unique value proposition at the time.
Yeah, no one was selling that. Not that I know anyway.
So what was the reaction of your prospects when you brought this?
So that's where I think my sales experience helped me compared to other funders that were technical funders and doing the same thing as us. So I built the value proposition, around you're going to buy that much money, but you're going to get value out of it. And there's going to be some amount, the in the terms, it was, you're going to get at least that amount of hours.
So you were doing sprint planning, and basically you were committing to specific deliverables out of the sprints. How did you define the value? You said we are selling value, not hours, right?
Yeah.
How do you ensure a strong correlation between time, aka sprints, and value, aka deliverables?
Well,
we all know, right?
No, it's very, very hard.
What you get out of a sprint versus what you plan for it is often
100%. So, first, it was simple. We had what we call the discovery sprints, which was every engagement had to start with that. So we would not start an engagement without doing a discovery, which is
billable discovery.
Yeah, because it brings value. Because then they get a report on what needs to be done. And if they want to stop there, at least they have that roadmap, right? And then we've got two different sprints. We've got the standard, the advanced. It was depending on how many people, essentially in the sprint. and it was very simple. And so at the time, again, keep in mind that the market is really exploding, and everybody wants data, and everybody has money, so nobody is really asking for ROI,
Mm.
right? Which, I mean, I'm not saying we didn't provide ROI. It's just that we didn't. No one got to us saying, "Yeah, I want some guarantees or anything." So the model also that we built is that I didn't want to have to renew people. I didn't want to spend the less amount of time possible on commercial conversations. And given our customer satisfaction metrics in the past 2 years, in the third year, we started what we called it open-ended SOWs or engagements. So like a cell phone plan. You start with us. This is the price list of everything we can provide. If you stay with us 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, you get that kind of discount. But it's gonna auto renew, and you have a month notice to stop, essentially. So we betted on us, like being able to deliver value constantly, to have clients just renew, constantly, like
Yeah.
automatically, without having to think
So
twice about it.
having this subscription model was comforting as well, because it was easier to do your projection in terms of
Oh yeah,
run rates.
I mean, and at the time we had zero churn. Like a client would just stay with
Yeah.
us for. I mean, we still have a client that has been with us since 2021, I think. So it's been 3 years already
Mm.
on that model.
Yeah. Was it like a surprising model for some of the prospect? You find like there was some friction, or people just wanted just want to pay you for
Yeah, I mean,
one
some
time?
of them didn't agree to that, but then you make the case. Well, listen, company X, you've been with us a year. We've been renewing every 3 months.
Yeah.
And at the same price, you don't get discount, essentially.
Yeah.
And we all have to spend some amount of time every 3 months to look at the SOW, and you have to get re-signed by the CEO or whoever.
Yeah.
And it's a pain for everybody, given the fact that we know we're going to be working together anyway. So I'm getting you a discount. And why am I getting you a discount? Is because you're saving me all the time of, having to every 3 months to do something, into the paperwork.
Yeah.
And you've got an out with a month.
Yeah. So, okay, you are in this situation. Your business is thriving. Your team is growing up. You are implementing what you believe is a great culture. You're proud of your brand. Everything
And the
is
people.
and the people, right? You're the best of the best of the best, right?
No, we're,
Yes, sir.
we're the best of the best. For us, like within our paradigm.
Yeah. So everything is going super well. You had this vision of being a lifestyle business, not focusing on doing any acquisition, any exits.
Yeah.
What led you to having those discussions to be acquired?
Well, just I didn't start anything, as it happens. So we're doing good. We're growing. So first year we grew from 0 to 4 employees. Second year we grew to 12 employees. Third year to 32 employees, and revenue is like 300% year over year. So we're doing great, and companies start to approach us because it's COVID again still, and rates are very low, and M&A market is having a blast. So everybody wants to buy companies because they can have cheap money. So I got a lot of conversation from private equity funds, even clients. One client offered to buy us.
How much revenue did you made at the time?
So by the end of 2022, 6 million for 2022, 6 million Canadian.
Or after
3
years and a half, 3
Yeah.
years.
So we did 10 years over the span of 3 years. We did $10 million over the span of 3 years.
I mean, for someone who started as like a freelancer,
Sure.
just wanted to spend half of his year traveling.
That was nice. And we could have made more money. I think we could have made more money by increasing our rates, and we did increase constantly because we started pretty. I mean, not cheap, but like not so expensive, and then we ended up being market prices today, for example.
So when those people are coming to you, knocking at your door to discuss potential acquisition
Yeah.
or merge, why you kept the door open?
Well, it was the first time I had this kind of conversation. I'm going to entertain them because I want to learn something, and someone is courting you, you know.
Another type of recognition.
Yeah, for sure. Huh? Look at you. Look at that smug face. Yeah, no, for sure. It's interesting because, yeah, people come to you, wanting to know about the company, and that they want to talk acquisition. It's always like, can we talk about a potential partnership? That's kind of in M&A. That's the key word for a first contact. Yeah, and I want to learn. And so someone is telling me, I think I don't recall exactly who, because I told them I'm having those conversations, and but I told him like we're doing so well, like I'm doing 20% net merch in a year. I haven't, I mean now at this point 3 years in or 2 years in, I'm paying myself the same salary as the highest salary. I think that was my thing is that I'm just gonna get the same salary as the person I'm paying the most. So doing good and no dividends, keeping all the money into growth. And But we're doing good. Money in the bank keeps growing. We have a lot of pipeline of clients. And having those conversations, and someone is telling me, because I'm telling them, yeah, I'll have this conversation, but it's just so good right now. Well, it's the best moment to sell is when you don't need to sell. Like, what do you mean?
But why selling?
Well, the thing is that it's when you have all the cards in your hand, right? So you can get yourself, de-risk your whole position, because as a owner of the company, I mean, I'm the one making payroll, and when I say I'm not the one actually doing the payroll, but it's all on me and my wife. If we're not making payroll, then it becomes an issue, like personal issue.
But it was a plan. Again, your plan was to have a lifestyle business. Why change your mind?
Originally, but
Yeah.
it
What
changed.
changed?
It
Yeah.
changed in the second year when we really started to grow fast and onboarding the 2-3 people every month.
Okay, so there was a turning point where it was too big to be just a lifestyle business.
No,
And it
couldn't,
was
like,
it
after
was
15
big.
employees,
Yeah.
it couldn't be a lifestyle business,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah.
And then the pressure started. The responsibility was way
Yeah, but
higher.
it was fun. I was never pressured into selling. We'll see about that, but I never felt the pressure that we need to sell. It's just that I was like, since I'm having this conversation, I'm gonna entertain the thought that this is the path of Montreal Analytics, that it's gonna sell at some point.
Yeah.
Like pretty much every consulting business. Okay. And so I'm having this conversation, and the valuation that I'm getting are like not what I'm expecting, like much higher than what I'm expecting. So I'm like, okay. So that means that I can de-risk my whole thing.
And find time to write books.
Potentially, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But I think what was the most important to me was to put Emily, safe in case something happens to me, right? So we get some money in the bank. You don't have to work a day, and if we have kids, all the best. You'll be fine. You don't have no pressure for you. So thinking about that, we wanted to buy a place as well, and so we ended up buying before selling, FYI. So we didn't buy a mansion or anything. So I'm having this conversation, and I'm finding myself refusing a bunch of proposals that are, retrospectively, not going to say I should have said yes, but I should have entertained them maybe further. But the most important thing for me is that I don't need to sell, so I can take the time to find the perfect fit. And Datatonic.
What the definition of perfect fit at this
culture was the first, same business, and ideally different continent, so that we can keep some amount of autonomy on our market. I didn't want to be, because a bunch of companies that came to me, they were in the US or in Canada. But that means that if we merged with them, we would have been
It's a
I'm
full
completely
merge.
absorbed, right?
Yeah.
The full identity of what we were doing.
You're not a satellite of
No.
the mothership.
Well, you become the mothership, like
Mm.
what's the word? Cylon from Battlestar, or I'm blanking out on the Star Trek.
Come on.
Ah, the Borgs. The Borg. Relief right now. Anywho, so we're having this conversation, and Datatonic started to talk to us in 2021, very early on the journey. Nice valuation, but we're going too fast, so I told them we can talk another, give me another year, but it's too soon for us. So fair enough. They were very nice about it, and we started talking again in 2022. Again, the project was nice. Like, we would merge. It was more of an equity deal, and we will build something great together under the Datatonic brand. Because Montreal Analytics brand is starting to become an issue, because while originally it was more of an indie brand and people like the Montreal, part of it, it became a mouthful, Montreal Analytics. And, because domain is important when you type an email. Montrealanalytics.com is a very long domain. And furthermore, a lot of now partners, technology partners are growing, and they think that we are only localized in Quebec and only doing work in Quebec, not even Canada, Quebec. And so we lost some amount of deal that didn't come to us because, I didn't know you were working in the US, which was a surprise to me, but that's my bad, as I didn't see that coming. And so the whole thing of replacing the brand was...
Which is weird, because having Montreal in the name was like an interesting branding decision.
At the beginning, yeah. Well, the thing you have to understand is that I don't have really anyone marketing wise, right? I'm doing the whole thing, the partnerships as well. And so the partners we work with, they are growing much faster than us because they're fueled by VCs capital. And so their sales team that I knew all of them, in the year one, I knew all of the sales rep of Snowflake or 5chan or Looker. In the second year, they're like 3 times as many people. And some of them left. And I don't have time to build those relationships. And in this third year, they're like 150 reps per square inch. Yeah. and so those people know about us. And when they hear about us, they're like, oh, Montreal Analytics. I mean, no, I'm going to work with, that company that has not like a place in their name, right?
Yeah, like Cambridge Analytica.
Sure, the Boston Group. So that's where we are. Back to this conversation. And yeah, best time to sell is when you don't need to sell, because then you can ask for your conditions. Yeah. And that's what we did.
So the conversation started in 2021. But you didn't sell.
No, I had a couple of conversations in 2021.
Yeah, and you sold 2 years later.
Yeah, but
early 2023, last year.
Well, I had conversation. I think it was mid to end. I think it was October 2021. Yeah. And we were actually having conversation in May 2022.
Yeah. So to someone navigating an acquisition for the first time,
yeah,
what are some of your recommendations?
Get advisors, and ideally investment bank or some sort of person that's going to be with you during the negotiation or conduct the negotiations themselves. I chose to do it myself with lawyers in the background and sometimes in front, but lawyers are great, but they're not the one that are going to be negotiating for you unless that's their mandate. That was not their mandate. I mean, they can negotiate some of the legal aspect of things, but the business aspect of things, investment banker, I think retrospectively, I should have done that for several reasons. And I also, chose to go all in with one company. I didn't open a market because I wanted to go with them. They knew that, obviously. So, that was definitely something they used. Yeah. And that's fair, everybody plays with their cards. Yeah. Can't complain or anything. We but yeah, definitely get investment bank, open market. Even if you want to go with someone, put pressure on the timeline by having other offers in the hand. Be an actual negotiator. Just don't put all your eggs in the same basket like I did, because it's gonna, more often than not, it's gonna bite you in the arse.
Yeah. You found that at some point you were fully invested into the idea of being acquired, or
Yeah.
do you feel like, I mean, again, you had the luxury of money and time around those 2022 years, right?
So the thing is that we had 100% of business inbound, right? But then I see that like at some point I need to hire a sales team. Like you can't expect things to keep going the way they are. That's usually how you can make money on the stock market, is by looking at people that think everybody's gonna keep going. And we so I had the path is that I was discussing with Acquire, but also discussing with funds to raise funds. And I wanted to raise funds to secure, not to get money out of it, but to secure a potential no growth year, and hire a sales team. So essentially be able to support $1 million of payroll with sales team without having any sales. And with Datatonic, I got to de-risk, but also money to invest. And I had zero experience with funds, and from what I was hearing, it was like, oh, you're gonna get you get some investment, you're not gonna be the owner anymore. Like they're gonna call the shots, and so I was like, yeah, I don't know if I want to go this path.
Are you calling the shots today?
Well, some amount of the shots for sure, but I have a boss, and of course I have to comply with a bunch of governance, which make absolute sense. Can't do whatever I want, but my day-to-day hasn't really changed.
Earlier you mentioned that you always had this desire to be in control, right? Do you feel like now you succeeded to have a good relationship to indeed be in control of your North America business?
Well, to me, it's not about calling the shots. Honestly, it's not about being right or telling you what to do and controlling everything you do. It's more about, I want to hear everybody's idea and opinion, and we can decide collectively. But if I'm adamant that this is the path, I'm gonna just use my my position to say we're gonna go this way. But usually, and that's again old. I'm gonna repeat that, but that's the angle of Montreal Analytics. It's about being at a company that I want to work with myself, compared to all the other companies I work for, where good ideas, mine or others, were discarded, and there was a bunch of sleazy C-level people that were just very mediocre at the helm, and they were just not using the right folks. So to me, anybody can come with an idea, and if they're good, we're gonna do it.
So earlier you mentioned your experience in Paris, where eCycle were acquired.
eCircle
was acquired by Data, right?
Yeah.
And it was a terrible experience for you, right? So you may had some PTSD.
Well, same with Alcane. Alcane, we got acquired by Rio Tinto at the same time, was there as well.
Yeah. So did you had some PTSD around a company being acquired and culture changes?
100%.
So how do you prepare your team? How did they know about?
Yeah, well, that's excellent question. Thank you for asking it. We didn't prepare that. So it was definitely a concern of mine, because I went through 3 acquisitions, 2 by so Alcane got bought out by a big corporation called Rio Tinto. eCircle got bought out by Teradata, big corporation, and then Viral Ninja got acquired by another company that Waterfall, I think, was the company. It was a smaller one, but still, another acquisition, and not so great for different reasons. So bad experience. But again, the angle was like, let me do that. Let me do it right, the way I want it to be. So let me prove that you can do an acquisition and have it done right. Prove them wrong again, right? And so to me, again, what was important through the lens of the culture of the company? Transparency. Okay, May 2022. Hey, all ends. Hey, folks, So we're getting acquired. We haven't signed anything yet, FYI, right? I know this is the path. I'm sharing with you. I'm deciding to share with you right now so that you're part of the process, as opposed to telling you in like 2 hours after we sign. Okay. At the time, we were supposed to sign in September, so I give them ample time, and we have prepared things like when we give the announce to the team, we have a full FAQ of all the questions that we thought they would have. We've had one-on-one schedule so that we can go through individual situations, and so
Wasn't too much premature again.
maybe
Nothing.
maybe, but again, it was how I wanted to be. Like if I was an employee of that company and not the CEO, this is what I would have wanted to have. So if I get the announce we're getting acquired, sometime this year, this is all the material and the reassurance I want to have as an employee. That was the angle. So that's what we built, and I think it was pretty successful. Nobody left due to that. We got people excited. We invited the Datatonic leadership to come to our retreat in Montreal.
Again, nothing was signed.
No. It was not signed, but it was going to happen. It was we knew we wanted to move forward. It was just about legal
again,
detail.
You are putting yourself into a situation where it's very difficult to step back at some point, and you are opening the
yeah, but that's the same with salaries. It's the same with showing the numbers, the company. Like it's principles. Either you live by it, or you don't have a culture. But you've got words on the wall.
You're weakening all your bargaining,
chips.
Your negotiation chips, right?
With that company.
I mean, you are telling to your all teams that you are going to be acquired by.
But again,
X,
it was not about, and maybe it was a mistake. But it's not about maximizing my own interest into that transaction, right? Like, let me explain. I want to keep my team. I want to keep them motivated and understand why I'm doing this. That's what I've been doing since day one. So I'm including you in the process, right? We haven't signed. I'm including you in the process.
So
of this acquisition.
Culture and transition was more important than money.
Well, yeah, because I left a lot of money on the table if I had chosen my own interest. Yeah. Like I had literal FU money on the table.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting and ballsy.
Sure, but that's not just me. It's me and my wife, deciding on that. Yeah. But again, money is not what was important, with this deal is that we get to de-risk and secure the family, right? The rest is gravy.
Just enough. So when having those discussions in terms of de-risking, say, okay, in order for us to be like in a good situation, if something happened to me, did you talk numbers? You said we need to have a minimum X to be safe, and the rest is gravy?
I mean, not much, like 300 years of salary. No, I'm joking. No, we didn't really. So yes and no. I can't recall exactly, but yeah, we're like, okay, like X would be great. We could probably go down to Y or Z, right? But we got X. I think we got actually a bit more than X. But again, that's why the negotiation was fine, right? Because when they came to offer, we just upped it, I think, a bit because negotiating. Yeah. But did
you own 100% of the company?
No, I gave 20% of the company to employees.
Okay.
I'm like that.
So they could have been happy, right? I mean, talking about acquisition, it's an opportunity for them as well to get some.
Yeah, but it was an equity deal, so there was no cash involved for the employees because I wanted to also. I mean, the company wanted to retain them, right? So the thing is that if you cash out employees, well then,
so they
leave potentially.
What was in for them then? What was the
benefit to me, from their it was like, listen. With Montreal Analytics, we're small. We don't have funds. We're on our own, right? We're bootstrapped. So your equity of Montreal Analytics and the same for me, in my opinion, is better off with transferring to an equity of Datatonic, which we know that in 2-3 years we can like have way more value of that equity than if we would have stayed in Montreal Analytics. Okay, that was the thought process. Because again, it was an equity deal. Like I de-risk, but same for me. Like I could have gone the way where we get a full cash deal at a lower valuation, obviously, but that's, you know, we were doing 2 million EBITDA by the end of 2022. Sorry, 1 million EBITDA, 22 million over the 3 years, but 1 million EBITDA, and the multiples on EBITDA were like 10 to 20 times EBITDA at the time. So if I had gotten a full cash deal,
Could you remind what EBITDA means?
oh, that's earnings, before tax. So it's essentially the net margin of your company, the money you're getting out of
So
after
how
every
much
cost.
you win minus how much you spend in a way?
Yeah, all the cost,
exactly.
all the depreciation of your
Okay.
gear and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Profits, if you would.
yeah,
Before tax.
yeah, profit before tax. So you run this FAQ. The teams welcome the positively the acquisition. Then the acquisition happened. What?
So say again.
So after you are running this you are doing this announcement, right? Saying, hey, we're going to be acquired. You bring the top leadership into your retreat. Everyone is friend. Everyone is happy. Everyone is excited. You ended up finding a deal. I believe that there was still negotiation at the time. You finalize those. You sign. Then Montreal Analytics become Datatonic.
Yep, March 2023.
What happened next? Is it as expected?
Well, first the actual transaction lasted way longer than expected on every side. Like we were supposed to finalize in September, and we agreed on number, based on different things that happened in early 2022.
Yeah.
The things that, for multiple reasons, none really, I guess, due to Montreal Analytics, more to Datatonic. Transaction finalized mid-March 2023, which created a lot of difficulties. Sorry, a lot of difficulties for Montreal Analytics, because I spent 6 months outside of Montreal Analytics with lawyers and advisors and Datatonic, negotiating the deal and the paperwork and the and the different companies that needed to be created, etc., etc. And I was the only sales guy, so revenue dropped. As always, retrospectively talking to other entrepreneurs, like of course your current trading, dropped. You're not there anymore, and believe it or not, you're important to the organization. And so that that didn't help. Got us in the end great condition, great deal, but harsh conditions. Which I agreed to at the time, and I still agree to them. But yeah, now we're Datatonic, so I wake up the next morning, and Montreal Analytics is still Montreal Analytics, but like a Datatonic company, essentially. Well, now it's integration. What do we do to make it work between us, and more importantly, how do we get the ship back in the right direction, because it was getting really difficult.
Yeah. Quickly about innovation. I wanted to quickly go through that before the end.
Okay. Well, are we already at the end?
Almost, yes.
Damn, I went fast.
Yes, and I have hours of questions still, but maybe
part two.
Part two. So, how do you approach innovation? So, machine learning and data data analysis is like a big growing industry, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've seen that you are investing more and more into generative AI as well. Yep. I've seen your Turbo template product that just released
migration
in November.
Yeah.
How do you prepare for the future? How do you anticipate what's coming next, and what's coming next?
You're asking to the wrong person. So it's not really my job to figure it out. Being part also of a larger group, and we're only like 180 employees now, so it's not like it's it's a big, and we didn't actually answer the question on the maybe another time on the, you had bad acquisitions, but Datatonic was very different because it was a not so large company that we merged with. So that also was for.
So it's a similar size company type.
Yeah, I mean, they're just probably where we would have been 2-3 years from now.
Yeah.
So sizable. Anyway, to answer your question, so now we have much smarter people, and we had them at Montreal Analytics, and already it was not really my job to fill the market, but we have people that are about, okay, so the different use cases that exist in the business and the technology that we need to have to answer those use cases. They're the one looking at that and figuring this out. My role is more to have that, like to get that answer, but with partners. So I'm going to Google, and I'm going to different other technology partners, and I'm like, okay, guys, what are you seeing on your end? This is what we're seeing. What are you seeing? And they're the one. They have way more means and power than us, right? So it's always like, if someone is doing great job at something and you can use that for free, might as well get some of that piece, right? It was the same for selling at Montreal Analytics, like inbound. But why? Because I had partners sell for me. Yeah. That's why I didn't need a sales team for the first 3 years.
Yeah. So now you're in this situation where you have a sales team.
Great sales team.
Great sales team. You have great partnerships. You won 5 years in a row. The Looker.
Not in a row. Yeah, over 7 years, 5 years, 5 times Google Partner of the Year.
Yeah. And I wanted to ask around how you achieve that, but again, question maybe for another time, or if you have a quick answer to that.
Those awards, it's politics. It's not really based. You have to be good at what you do, but you also have to, like any awards, just like, best workplace. We won 3 times in a row, best workplace in Canada. And we deserve that. It's just that to get into the certification, you have to pay for it. It's not like something where they come and tell, oh, you're actually the best. Like, you have to pay a fee to enter the competition, right? Yeah. But then it's based on numbers. But just to be certified, it's pretty low threshold.
So you're in this situation where you are not the sales guy anymore. You are not.
I'm a sales guy.
You are a sales guy. You are not the implementation or the expert. You are not necessarily looking at the new tech and the future and maybe
what the hell am I doing during the day?
So maybe are you back to square one, asking yourself who you are and what you want to do, and what the next 5 years is going to look like for you?
Yeah, for sure. That's a question. So what I like about my job now is that I'm more of I was a glue for the team, right? Between all different teams, and that's most of my days is doing that. And also, we're still pretty much not integrated with Datatonic, so there's still a bunch of integration to do there. Like, I'm still doing the invoicing for the company. At some point, it has to stop. Sorry, to answer your question, I guess what's coming, what's next, I don't know. Like, I want to really expand Datatonic Americas is the new name for Montreal Analytics. I want to grow this to bigger than Europe. That's my goal for the next 2 years. I want us to be as big, if not bigger, than the European team.
What's the targets?
What's the target?
What are the targets in terms of revenue?
Well, I can't really share that. Let's just say it's 4 or 5 times what we're currently doing. So it's very, very aggressive. I think we can do it.
Are you going to do that by hiring 5 to 10 times more?
Yes and no. Like, we have ways now to scale with people, but also with processes and technology. You talked about a couple of products we've released, but yeah, in any case, it's gonna have to go through either M&A, like acquiring company in Latin America or the US, or hiring organically.
So now that you have been through this acquisition process, how are you going to approach the next acquisition that you
Yeah, I
will
mean,
do, right?
it's going to be very interesting to be on the other side of the table for
Yeah.
sure. Like, I want to learn doing that.
Yeah.
I yeah, I think I want to try at least this thing and see if I can be again great but fair,
Mm.
which I think is not the best position to be when you're doing M&A. You just want to be great.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to be fair because you don't want to. It has to be win-win.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's going to be horrible.
Yeah. As a final question
Oof.
to you, and it's going to be an easy one. How do you learn? How do you become better over time?
Easy one. How do I become better? Like as in anything, like in anything, everything.
How do you evolve? How do you?
Okay, can I answer that by quoting someone? I guess. I think it was Matthew McConaughey who said that.
All right, all right, all right. No,
No. He said that.
no. I mean, it's not the quote that you are saying. I'm just saying that you used to always say, "All right, all right,
All right. The point being that for him, and I think it was pretty much the same for me, is personal goal and target to be better is to become the person he wants to be in 5 years or 10 years. So you say, okay, I'm 30. By 35, I want to be an entrepreneur, right? I'm 35. By 40, I want to have a kid. I'm 40. By 45, I want to be, and I want to have written my own book, for example, right? So I'm not writing this down. Maybe I should, but it's kind of like what actually happened, throughout my life. So I think it's just I need to achieve that at some point,
Yeah.
and this at some point needs to be a short-term thing.
So what is your 5 years vision of yourself?
I think with Datatonic, I mean, I don't think it's going to be more than 5 years. So it's either going to be I start another thing, 5 years from now, or I just try again writing,
Yeah.
or start a band.
So so what are you doing today to achieve this goal?
Or right now, since I know that I want to, I want to keep working at the Datatonic and expand. That's all my energy is towards expanding, and we're on the right path right now, which is great. And team is great, so I have no will to do anything else for the time being.
Yeah.
But I know that this is at some point I'm gonna get either not the right person for the job because we're gonna get too big, and I know that I'm not a 1,000 employee CEO. Like
Yeah.
I'm gonna be not so great about that.
So you are aiming to become expandable in a way.
Yeah, I mean for sure. Like in the next 2 years, I'll probably not be the best person for the job.
Yeah.
Which means then I need to make room for the next
Yeah.
person. Otherwise, I become the people I don't like, which are just staying because they want to stay.
Is it scary to you or is it exciting?
No, not anymore.
Yeah.
Because again, now like I've achieved something that I really wanted to achieve.
Yeah.
Successful, entrepreneurial experience. And I have that. I still think I can do something else and better, probably.
Yeah.
But now I can also do something else and
Yeah.
see if I can
So is
succeed.
recognition still important now?
Yes, but a bit less so because starting company and selling it was like I wanted to do that in my life and ideally before I was 40 years old.
Yeah.
So now that I've achieved that, I feel like it's not like, okay, now I can just, relax and do nothing with my life.
Yeah.
I think I just crossed a big item on my list, which was never a list really.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks a lot, Cyril. It was super insightful.
Loris.
And again,
hey, we really spent almost 3 hours there.
Yes.
Hot damn.
I told you.
Wow. Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Really prepared. Really enjoyed the conversation. And who's gonna be number 2?
We'll see.
I don't know. You can't say. Come
No,
on.
I can't say yet.
Okay.
That's a good line.
Well, I was absolutely happy to be the first one, and I hope at some point I'll be coming back. I don't know.
We're going to do a part 2 at some point.
I mean, I have nothing to do tomorrow. So.
Cool. Thanks a lot,
Thank you,
Cyril.
Loris.
Bye-bye. If you are still here, it means that you love this discussion. Please subscribe, share around you, and see you next time.